behind us. It's Chief. We're in the building. It is Saturday, and it's weekend NBA, which is not for the faint of heart. Weekend NBA is sometimes a little dreadful. Maybe the news doesn't come out on time, but I'm here with two of my favorite guys in the business. We've done, as we got down through the end of NFL season, this was the weekend crew for NFL. Myself, Tim, TJ. Tim, good to see you. How you doing on this big Saturday?
It's really good to see you, Will. Always good to see TJ. I'm doing well. We're sweating a little NASCAR pre-show. It's definitely going to be an interesting race going down the stretch. And this is actually, I think, a really good tournament slate for basketball we got going on. And I think there's different ways you can play the cash games too, which is fun. It's not like a standard build all the way around. So I think this is going to be a good slate.
Yeah, I'm interested to hear your thoughts on cash for sure. Because listen, whenever you start saying cash is interesting, like that's when you know we got a real nice slate on our hands, or interesting slate, if you will. TJ, a big Saturday up in Saskatoon. How are you doing, sir?
Doing well. It's my buddy's bachelor party today, and just a low key night. We're gonna go play some drinking games, some beer pong. We're gonna watch the UFC fights tonight. So looking forward to that. I got some lineups going there. I had an interesting sweat going for NASCAR, and I honestly have no idea how this works. But apparently a whole bunch of guys just got in a crash and are out, and my winnings just went down 7K. So I don't know what's going on, but it's wild, Will. It's wild.
Yeah, NASCAR is probably about as big of a swing as you can get in DFS. I don't know if there's anything with more of a swing. Well, basketball can kind of be a swing, but like NASCAR can be huge swings depending on what's happening. Maybe golf. Like golf is, if a guy 3-putts one, I mean, you can go from taking out some serious money to like out of it like pretty quickly. So, it just depends. But listen, for those of you that want to build some lineups, folks, Sim Labs, it's the expert DFS lineup generation tool from Roto Grinders and Fantasy Labs, and now you can use it with NBA. With a few clicks, you can have hundreds of well-built correlated lineups for whatever contest you're playing. Running out of time before lock? Quickly build a set of lineups to fill out your entries. Want to see who might be falling under the radar? Use the tool to examine players the field might be sleeping on. Note, all combo and NBA subscribers have access to NBA Sim Labs and the prop and pick'em package. Folks, prop and pick'em package. The expert at RG projections team take our premium stats, comb through the market for any inefficiencies. Using our model, you can easily see which lines are off, where to find them, and how likely the prop will hit based on our tool. You can also now try out the props and pick'em package as a 3-day pass. Note this will auto-renew at the monthly rate once 3 days are up. Use the link in our description for the 3-day pass. And last but not least, if you want a combo 3-day pass, if you want to take it for a test run, now you can with the 3-day trial pass get access to every sport except NASCAR at the low price of $19.99. That's a 3-day pass. There's never been a better time to join the RG community, so find that 3-day trial link in the description. Also, got all the pleasantries out of the way early, didn't even wait for it, came in hot. Tim, we're talking cash. This is not a FanDuel sponsored show. This is an RG sponsored show. We can talk FanDuel. We can talk DraftKings. We're going to go pick 'em style. You pick where you want to start, but we're talking cash games. Doesn't matter the side.
Yeah, so I think there's a couple things that I'd like to discuss between both sites. Really, it's Jokic or Doncic, or Jokic or Doncic, and Taylor has Jokic as a core play. But I think if I'm playing cash games and I want to have a high up spend, it's going to be Luka for me. I'm going to spend that extra $700. I think he is on both sites. But there's also a case to be made to play neither one, because there's an absolutely loaded mid-range today. There's like plenty of guys in between that 8 and 5K range that really puts your build all together. So like I was running Sims and lineup HQ optimals before the show, and I couldn't believe how little Luka and Jokic I was getting. I was getting like a bunch of like Quickly and Cunningham and those type guys, like that mid range instead of the high end. If people want to know what I think you should play Luka in cash games. Like if you're playing strictly cash or 50-50s, that's what I'm doing. I play one team a night. I play single entries. I play cash. Like I'm playing Luka tonight. It's not like an absolute must though. I mean, there like I said at the beginning, there's multiple ways to go. So it's interesting. I'm going with Luka tonight.
Okay. So it sounds like to me, and he said it straightforward, Tim's going to hinge all his cash teams and maybe single entry, but at least cash for sure, or spin it up to Luka. Luka does have a tasty matchup against Detroit tonight. If he was ever going to go off with little resistance, I mean, you have to think that Detroit would be a spot where he could get it done. And they've been able to keep up recently. So it's not like people have been running away from the Pistons. It's just been bad defensive games, and teams are still running up the score, and they're just keeping up. I like that call, Tim. Anything else you want to add, like from that perspective for cash in general?
Yeah, well, just the problem with that is Jokic has an amazing matchup also against Utah.
Against Utah, I know.
Like an unbelievable matchup. They're both in such good spots, So it's like they could both go for like 90 fantasy points tonight. I wouldn't be surprised at all. So, that's kind of like the problem. That's the big problem, right? Is that Jokic is also in an absolute smash spot. So it's really, really tough. But I'm leaning with Luka. I'm leaning with Luka tonight.
All right, that's Tim's overall view for cash. He's leaning Luka for cash, and he'll build around that. And we'll get into some more specifics here. Trust me, guys, we got plenty of time. TJ, let's go general overview tournaments. And I think Tim brought up something beautiful, that you've got so many ways you can build because of the value. Yeah, let's call it value. Upside, if we will, in the mid-range. TJ, kind of give me a little overview on how you're approaching tournaments tonight from a theory perspective.
So I noticed as I was looking through my exposures that I'm fairly even on most of the field, except for a few players that I'm just drastically overweight on. So I have a few tournament calls that I think are going to be very different, and I think we're going to be able to get some really good leverage on the field with them. And outside of that, I'm fairly chalky. Like I love Doncic, I love Cunningham, I love Quickly. I'm going to get a lot of those guys. I'm not going to fade away from that. But there are a couple of guys in the mid-range that I'm going to be very significantly overweight on that I think we can get a little different with in tournaments.
Okay, sounds good.
Can I ask one thing real quick to
sure,
TJ?
Tim, sure, yeah.
Do you have any teams with Luka and Jokic on the same team?
That is a great question. Let's check. It's filtered by Jokic because I have less of him.
I've seen a couple people in chat talk about playing both, and I think you give up a ton if you play both. But I know you can do it. I know it's possible, but it seems sketchy to me.
I have no lineups with both. I do have quite a few with Jokic and Kyrie Irving, though.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, so a couple people in chat have talked about playing both. Like, if you want to go that way, I'm not going to tell you no. I just think that you're giving up a ton by going double studs. So I wouldn't recommend it, but it's your guys' money.
Well, listen, since we're already on FanDuel, let's just kind of stick there because it seems like that was I know Cleveland Picker put that in there, and somebody else did mention DK. But if we're on FanDuel, Tim, let's kind of walk through that. I know you mentioned, the core plays and that Taylor had Jokic as a core play. Obviously, that's no problem at all. Anybody else you want to discuss on the high end, and then maybe let's go slight, one or two at position by position.
Anyone else on the high end? Well, no. I mean, I've pretty much taken care of the high end in terms of raw points.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's Luka and Jokic. I don't have any interest in Tatum at all, or Durant. So it's really just Luka or Jokic.
Okay. All right. Let's take it to point guard. Anybody that you want to discuss there? I know we got the core tag, so I know if anybody was core, you can see that we don't have anybody at point guard that's core. But who would kind of be? And I know you're playing Luka. So I'm saying anybody else that you're considering at that spot.
Well, there's definitely other ways that you can go about it. Like we have Emmanuel Quickly and Cade Cunningham projected very, very well. Those two are popping in a lot of optimals and a lot of optimals on our SimLab tool also. So Quickly and Cunningham, you can play Quickly at shooting guard too, which is pretty cool. So that's good. I think Jamal Murray is a good play. They should absolutely roll Utah, and if it's not going to be Jokic, it could very well be Murray that goes off. So, we just got Porzingis out. I think is that what you saw? Anyone else?
Porzingis is out.
Yeah.
All right. So let's do this. Does that change your perspective on Tatum at all?
He's still pretty expensive, and it's still kind of a bad matchup. So. More curious what that does to
Horford?
We can pull up court IQ real quick.
We may have an if then on that too.
We don't have an if then.
Oh, okay.
No. But yeah.
And let me just say, this just didn't come out of nowhere. Porzingis was tagged questionable earlier in the day, so I do want people to know that. Like this didn't randomly happen. It is happening before a lot, but he did have a questionable tag. Sorry about that, Tim. Please proceed.
Yeah, so I'm actually more curious what this does for like somebody like Al Horford. You know, like how cheap he is. You know, I definitely doesn't really change much for me on the high end between like Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. I don't think this is like necessarily like slate altering news. But I think it is worth, considering a guy like Al Horford, perhaps, even somebody like Derek White, perhaps. But yeah, it's not huge. But the other person I wanted to mention is Chris Paul at 6,700 on FanDuel. He's a good play on DK as well. We have him projected for 30 minutes. He's the guy that can really fill up the stat sheet in multiple different ways. So I think he's a really, really strong play at point guard. And then Anthony Simons, projected to play 36 minutes against Toronto. Like, Toronto is absolutely atrocious defensively. I think Simons is an interesting play. So you have all these guys that are like in that, $700 to $8,500 range that you can play potentially over paying all the way up to Luka. So I mean that mid range is very, very strong. You have Jeremy Sohan also. He's 6,100. I'd rather you play him at the power forward position because he's point guard power forward, but still, I mean, I think he's a decent play also.
Okay. Sounds good. Listen, folks, looks like Tim is giving us, a little overview here on FanDuel in terms of cash games. I think he's explaining there's a lot of different ways you can go, different ways you can build. I think I'm just trying to put a bow on FanDuel for Tim. He's committed to Luka, but if you're not playing Luka, you could play Jokic. But if you're not playing either, you could absolutely build in the mid-range, the 8K guys. You could use quickly. You could use a guy like Kyrie as examples. Quickly, somebody I know for sure was popping. You could use a Cade Cunningham. There are just different ways you could go. You could maybe play some Jamal Murray. And I know those are a lot of guard plays, but I'm just saying those are the ways you could get it done here while still playing with Jeremy Sohan, so forth and so on. TJ, over to you. Tournaments, I know you mentioned you were kind of going over on a couple of key guys, but matching the field in some spots. Give us the spites. What are we doing in tournaments?
Yeah, so I'll go keep it more general of an overview on FanDuel here because I did just run my 150 on DraftKings. I'm not playing on FanDuel. But having said that, still pretty easy to tell where the guys are that I'm liking in tournaments. I love the Anthony Simons call that Tim just had. I think that's a great option in tournaments today. I even think we can go back to some of these Charlotte players like a Mitchich going up against Brooklyn. He let us all down the other day, but this is they're still without a lot of bodies.
By the way, that was
just yesterday. He let us down. Yeah, I ended up still breaking even yesterday, so it was fine. But he did let us down. I think we can go back. These Celtics guys now, Derek White and Drew Holiday, I think are really good plays. And for what it's worth, my favorite route to go here in tournaments is to do the Luka and Jokic fade. on FanDuel. Load up on the Cunninghams, load up on the Quickleys. They are my 2 favorite plays on the slate. I could see them getting close on a raw points standpoint to Luka and Jokic tonight. Shooting guard, it's a lot of the same guys. Emmanuel Quickly is the top option here. I think Jaylen Brown and Derek White become very much in play for tournaments. One of the guys that I love getting to, and he's much lower ownership on DraftKings, but I think you can still get to him on FanDuel, is Brandon Podziemski today. All the talk about Chris Paul, and rightfully so, but Brandon Podziemski, I think, is going to have a very big benefit without Steph Curry.
He can do whatever he wants. Just don't go past 6.5 rebounds. Please continue.
Deal. He'll get 6 rebounds, 10 assists, 20 points. I really like Podziemski today. Kuminga, I do like Tatum now, but probably a better play on DraftKings. I love RJ Barrett today, getting half the ownership as quickly as he should, but I think he still has a big upside. Then there's players like Brandon Miller, who, again, not quite as good of a spot against Washington, but still he could probably going to be able to do whatever he wants to Brooklyn today, as long as he stays out of foul trouble. And then Sensabaugh, still a viable cheap option. He was popping earlier in the day, not so much now. I still think you can get there on FanDuel where he's nice and cheap. At the power forward position, Olynyk and Kuminga are my favorites here. I'm probably not going to go too different, but Keldon Johnson is somebody I like. Zach Collins is somebody I like in that Spurs game, and then PJ Washington as a very low owned tournament play is somebody that I want to be getting to as well. And finally, the center position, I like Olynyk, I like Collins. Nick Claxton, I think, is interesting in this spot, as is Jalen Duren. What's Gafford's price here on FanDuel? All the way up to 6,500.
Yeah,
that's
it's completely
a lot.
different. It's completely
That's a
different.
ton,
Yeah,
but I still think that's somewhat interesting for tournaments at almost no ownership. And then of course Al Horford, I think, is going to start popping now in projections as well without Porzingis.
All right, and there you have it. TJ went over his tournament perspective from FanDuel. We're going to go over to DraftKings. DraftKings is a lot more flexible tonight, I think, Tim, just from what I've looked at. Especially, I'll just plug in one of my favorites over there is Jamal Murray tonight at 7,800. I couldn't believe, the projection we have on him and the price. I think he's a great play. Just want to throw that out there. Tim,
Who was it, Will, that you liked?
Jamal Murray at 7,800.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So I love him for DraftKings, and I mean, getting a nice discount from FanDuel, but still, I think he's just slightly underpriced. Like I said, want to put that out there. Tim, DraftKings. I know you probably still like Luka, but I do think there are a couple other guys that are just cheaper on DraftKings that you can get pretty unique. What's your perspective for cash games? Let's walk it down position by position.
Yeah, so still for cash games, I'm still rolling with Luka. I think you can play Luka and Cade Cunningham because you have cheaper people like at other positions. So I'm going Luka, I'm going Cade, but obviously you can just skip Luka. You could go Cade, you could go Emmanuel quickly. Derek White gets the biggest usage upgrade increase with Porzingis out, and he's only 61. I would play him at shooting guard, not point guard. And then Chief, you already mentioned Jamal Murray. I think he's a fantastic play. Devin Vassell, I bet his ownership is going to start decreasing before lock. So at 7,700 with no Wemby, projected to play 36 minutes, I think he's a fantastic tournament play at the very least. Shooting guard, I think it's Derek White now. I think he's your cash game shooting guard now. So, it's seems a little bit weird, but 6,100 I think is a really, really good price tag. I know it's not the best matchup in the world, but I think he's your primary shooting guard. If you had the extra money, I think I guess you could go Jaylen Brown. I really like TJ's call with Micic, projected to play 32 minutes at 5,600. I think he would be okay for cash. Freeman Liberty at 3,100, projected to play 18 minutes. I think he could actually get some extra run. And if you really, really need to punt at shooting guard at 3,100, I think that's not a horrible play either. So yeah, and then small forward, Kamara at 4,800, I think is a really great play for some value. Jeremy Sohan also 5,400. I think he's a really great play for cash. I know that Tatum and Brown both rate out well, but just the way I'm building, I'm not gonna be able to play them. But if you're going mid-range build, I think that's completely fine to go Tatum and Brown. But I'm gonna have to stay in that low 5s, upper 4 range, the way that I'm rostering my team tonight. And then center, it's really easy for cash. If you're not playing Jokic, you're playing Daniel Gafford at 4,400. He's incredibly easy to fit. Al Horford at 4,700, power forward center. He's now pretty close to the same point projection as Daniel Gafford. He's rated, he's $300 more, and he's projected for like 1 extra fantasy points, and he's projected to play 32 minutes. So Horford is definitely in the power forward discussion. I would not play him at center. And then also, I really like Jalen Duren tonight. I'm considering playing him in my single entry and then making like a 2v2 for cash. Duren's not a cash game play, but Dallas is a really bad defensive team, and they're really bad at rebounding also. And so if Duren can play just a couple extra more minutes, then get up to like 35, I think he could crush the Mavericks. So I'm considering playing Duren in single entry.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Duren was a guy I bumped today in terms of my personal projection. I think we had him around 35. I bumped him to 38. So I didn't get out of control, obviously, but I bumped him a little bit just so he could hit a couple extra lineups as I was building. Thank you, Tim, for covering cash. Guys, keep dropping those questions. We will get to them. TJ's going to talk tournaments, and then we're right into questions. TJ, tournaments, what are we doing?
Yeah, so I'm just finishing up my newest build here for tournaments, and I gotta say, I like how things are shaping up. I bumped up my exposures a little bit to some of these players that Tim liked, and now my highest owned player actually is 40%, so I'm mixing things up a lot more than I was before. But at point guard, I have between 30 and 40% of Derek White, Cade Cunningham, Emmanuel Quickly, and Luka Doncic. That's who are the heaviest owned guys for me at point guard. And then from there, I do still have a heavy crew between 20 and 25% of Chris Paul, Drew Holiday, Brandon Podziemski, and Jamal Murray. Like I said, I love Brandon Podziemski for tournament today. He's going super low owned on DraftKings, and I think he's a very, very strong play over there. At the shooting guard position, it's like I said on FanDuel, a lot of the same players. But Derek White and Jaylen Brown are my 2 highest owned guys here, followed by Brandon Podziemski. I like the Freeman Liberty call as a full-out punt today. Micic, Vassell, Banton. That rounds out my favorite set of guys, but there are a lot of low-owned guys I'll take shots on too, like Jaden Ivey, like Anthony Simons, like Brandon Miller, Kyrie Irving, and maybe even a touch of Dennis Schroeder. Small forward position. Highest owned guys, tier 1 for me. This is kind of the weakest position on the board for me today. This is where I'm the most spread out. And so it's Jaylen Brown, Keldon Johnson, RJ Barrett, Jason Tatum, Jeremy Sohan, Fontecchio, Kamara. A lot of guys I don't really like. A little bit of Nick Smith Jr. Not something I really want, but it's a weak position. Getting some Sensabaugh here as well. Jaylen Brown is, though, my favorite, followed by Keldon Johnson here at the position. Power forward, 40% Al Horford. He's my highest owned play on the slate. Kuminga
Booker is out.
Booker is out. There we go. Maybe want to get a little more Kevin Durant here. That defense might falter slightly without Porzingis, but it's still Boston, so I don't know how much Phoenix that I want to get to here for tournaments. Anyways, I don't think I'm going to change anything. I'm just going to leave Phoenix out of my pool.
Yeah, I don't think that really changes that much.
No, I had them fully X'd out of the pool, and I think I am going to keep it that way. Power forward position, like I said, Al Horford, highest owned guy on the slate. Next up, Jonathan Kuminga, Davis Bertans, a lot of Keldon Johnson, Kelly Olynyk, and RJ Barrett. And then Chris Boucher is a punt here I don't totally hate. And then finally, the center position, Horford, Gafford, Duran, Collins, Kelly Olynyk, and Jokic. That's basically my crew of guys I'm getting at the center position.
All right, folks. TJ has gone through tournaments. He's hooked us up with a couple plays, talked through some of how he's approaching the slate. We're going to try to get to some questions. We've got a fair amount of time, so if you've got whatever questions you have, please drop them in there. I am heading to the live stream chat first, just to make sure that we don't have anything in there, and then if we don't, then I'll head back to YouTube. So I'm in live stream chat. I don't see. Oh, we do have a question here. This is from Omar 456. This is for FanDuel. Ivy or Asar Thompson? Tim, going to give that one to you.
I like both those guys tonight for tournaments quite a bit. I think I'd go Ivy, but I like them both quite a bit for large field tournaments.
Okay. And then TJ, this one is for you, FanDuel as well. Tatum or Jaylen Brown?
I mean, straight up raw points, it's Tatum, but point per dollar, I'd probably rather Brown.
Okay. All right. There we go. And then we've got one here from Bills Mafia. What's the best cheap center for GPP? He did not mention site. If we go DraftKings, I'm going to assume you both are going to be in agreement with Daniel Gafford. Is that the case? Or
on
Al
DraftKings.
Horford?
Gafford on DraftKings, Horford on FanDuel.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. I assume that might be the case.
Do you have any Jackson Davis? Do you have any Jackson Davis, DJ?
I have 11% Trace Jackson Davis, actually.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. And I know you guys they were putting some in there. Here we go. This is Moody versus Exum. This for GPP is TJ. Moody versus Exum and then Clay versus Gary Trent. Both FanDuel GPP.
Moody versus Exum. Don't really like either, but would go Moody. And then Gary Trent in that next one.
Okay. Tim, this is for you. Any love for Bradley Beal FanDuel single entry? I know you talked about kind of not playing anybody from Phoenix. How are you feeling?
Now that Booker is out, I guess that's okay.
Okay.
Not my favorite play, but I mean I think it's fine.
All right, got it. Jaden Ivey or Mitchich, DK GPP TJ.
I would go Ivy actually.
Okay, here we go. Podzimski or Klay Thompson on a DraftKings single entry GPP. Tim.
What was it? Will
Podzimski or Klay Thompson DraftKings single entry?
I'd go Podzimski.
Okay, all right, and then this one is for you specifically, Tim. From There's Hope, There's No Hope for you. DFS for a last plug and play on DK. He said last plug and play did not give me any salary.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I get it now. Dorian Finney-Smith for a last plug and play. DK got it.
Yeah, I'd rather go Kamara actually. So I'd rather do that than DFS.
Gotcha.
Jackson Davis is in.
Yeah, our flying armbar did have a question, but you've already answered that. This is for Cash, Tim. DK Cash, CP3 or Pi.
I'd go CP3 and Cash.
Okay, got it. This is for you, TJ. Xavier Tillman on FanDuel.
No.
Okay. FanDuel GPP, keeping it with you, TJ. Bertans or Thibault? FanDuel GPP.
Bertans.
Okay. Jay Gisley said he was kind of late. Sum everything up when done. We'll come right back to that, Jay. This is on Yahoo. Asar Thompson or Royce O'Neal. That's on Yahoo. I'm not sure who either of you looked at Yahoo today. If so, one of you can just tell us. I'm going back to the live stream chat because we did have two more questions in there that popped up after we started taking questions. If either one of you want to take that Yahoo question.
Yeah, it's Asar.
Okay. Gotcha. This is for DKGPP for TJ. in a 3 injury, would you lock Sohan or make one of them Keldon Johnson?
I would make one of them Keldon Johnson for sure.
Okay. Any interest in Royce O'Neal with Booker out now? Tim?
Not particularly.
Okay, no problem.
He's 50. Was that for DK?
He just said, and he didn't specify, just said any interest.
Yeah, I mean, I think 5,800 on DK is way too much. So I have no interest.
Gotcha. Okay, here we go. Paul or Cunningham, FanDuel cash. Tim?
Cunningham.
Okay, FanDuel GPP, TJ, Grant Williams or Finney Smith?
Grant Williams.
All right. DK GPP, keeping it with you, TJ. Wait a minute. Where did it go? Oh, Asar Thompson or PJ Washington?
I'd go PJ Washington, actually.
Okay, FanDuel GPP. That was FanDuel. Is he a cash or a GPP build play? I'm not sure who you're talking about, OS. So you have to specify there. Just drop who you're talking about in the chat, in the YouTube chat. Mitchich or Gary Trent Jr. DK cash, Tim?
Mitchich.
Okay. And then is Watson viable for FanDuel GPP, TJ?
Watson, as in maybe Peyton Watson? I don't have.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm almost positive that's what he's talking about.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. No, Peyton Watson for me. OS said Luka was the one he was referring to. He's both perfectly fine in cash and in tournaments.
Yeah. Okay, and then we had another Yahoo question here. I guess we'll kick it to Tim. He said, Quickly or Jalen or Duren? Quickly or Duren?
Quickly is definitely the safer of the two, but I really like Duren for GPPs. So it really depends on your risk tolerance, I guess.
Okay. DK single entry, TJ, Kuminga or Olynyk?
I would go Kuminga.
Okay. All right, and I guess Jay is asking for a sports bet here. First quarter win, Jazz or Denver. Give me Denver on that one. If you're just going to take money line straight up and they're giving you good odds. Denver's at home. I expect them to win the first quarter. And it looks like, fellas, we are we're getting more questions as we go. Anger 6 says FanDuel GPP, anyone rolling with Wiggins? That'd be Anthony Wiggins, obviously, and not Aaron Wiggins. TJ
Andrew, not Anthony.
Andrew. Yeah, thank you. At any rate, TJ Wiggins.
Not playing Andrew Wiggins, Anthony Wiggins, Aaron Wiggins, none of them.
All right, headed back to the live stream chat. Ivy or Zach Collins for DK Cash, Tim?
For DK Cash, it's Zach Collins.
Okay. OS really piling on the questions tonight. We are building his lineup for him as we speak. Do you like beef stew tonight, TJ?
Just fine. Like if you land on it a last piece, that's okay, but I'm not targeting them.
Okay, and this is Bill's Mafia. He said GPP for DK single entry. Who is GPP?
Yeah, you got to complete your questions before you hit send. Don't put your questions in 3 different messages. He's saying for a DK DK shooting guard or utility, $5,900 left. So
Gotcha.
I think he just adjusted it from a shooting guard to a utility position. So I would say
5,900 left utility. Yeah.
Zach Collins is the top option. If you need it to be a shooting guard, then it is Jaden Ivey.
Okay, we've got Mitchich or Trent Jr. DK Cash. I think we're going Mitchich there. Is that correct, Tim? Is that going to be your lean?
Yeah.
Or are you going? Okay. All right. Here we go. RC Player 07. This is back to the live stream chat. How many Spurs on DK? I do think that's a really good question.
Yeah,
How
that
many
is
Spurs
a
are
good question.
Too many on DK.
I wouldn't go more than 2.
Yeah, that's my lean as well. TJ, you got to read that. I was thinking 2.
2.
Yeah, you probably got Sohan and Collins, or Sohan and Vassell and Collins, but I think 3 is going to be one too many. I'm with all of you guys there. And it looks like we have hit all of the questions so far. We are 2 minutes left from lock at my speaking, so you guys are probably 20 seconds behind-ish, 20, 30 seconds behind-ish. So we'll go there all the way from South Carolina. My man, Daryl George. Love you, Daryl. Good to hear from you, brother. Yahoo GPP, Schroeder, Podziemski, or Chris Paul. That's Daryl George. He is from Florence, my good South Carolinian brother. Schroeder, Podsy, or Chris Paul.
If the rest of your lineup is somewhat chalky, I would go Podsy. But if you're getting different elsewhere, then I'd go Chris Paul.
Understood. We're about a minute out from lock at my speaking, so we're probably about 30 seconds from lock. We've got RC Player who is actively typing a question in the live stream chat. I'm waiting on that question to finish. Here we go. He says, "Is it Clay Day?" I think most people are agreeing no. We've sided with Podsy. We've sided with even Wiggins. I'm kidding. We've sided with Kuminga. I don't think anybody's expecting to be Clay Day. Tim, TJ, take it away.
Nope, not for me.
I wouldn't go Clay.
Okay. And there you have it, folks. We have hit lock. Thank all of you guys for joining us on the weekend. A little bit of weekend NBA. Myself, Tim, and TJ are going to go and sweat our NASCAR, open up our phones, and maybe see how it's going. I'm sure the cars are still driving right now as we speak. Also going to be sweating some MMA. Folks, we love you. We appreciate you. We will see you next week. I think I'll actually be back tomorrow. Tim, TJ, you guys on tomorrow as well?
It's me, you, and Taylor tomorrow. But
me and
maybe
Taylor tomorrow. So, okay.
But maybe the schedule used to say Taylor today for 2, and then it got switched. So maybe it's going to be Tim back tomorrow too.
So listen, here's what we're going to do. Whenever we've got TJ, Will, and Tim, or TJ, Will, and Taylor, we've got to get some graphics made for TWT, have a little wrestling ring, and have us like dropping elbows. That would be creative. The development team needs to get on that ASAP, especially if they're going to put us on the weekends. I'd love to see that graphic. TJ, pitch that up to the higher ups. You're a lot closer to those production people than I am.
We'll see what we can do, but you can basically always guarantee on the weekend it's 3 of TJ, Tim, Taylor, Will. It's always 3 of that combo.
There you go. Folks, thanks for hanging out with us. I know we went a little bit over with all the semantics, talking about our new graphics that we want to see next weekend. Maybe we see them, maybe we don't. Thanks for joining us. We will see you back here tomorrow for more NBA Crunch Time.